This is Frameform. Well, we finally got here, y'all.
We made it.
I don't want to say it's the end, but it's the end of this season, which we've reached.
In America's Next Top Model terms, we're at the end of cycle 4.
Oh, snap.
Though hopefully we've been a lot less tone deaf
Yeah.
and atrocious than ANTM.
Oh my gosh. I never watched that show, but like all the, retrospectives I hear about it, I'm like, oh wow, the things kind of flew differently back then.
I will occasionally see things pop up, and I actually was a huge Tyra Banks fan. Speaking of the Barbie movie, which we weren't, but, she was the original live-action Barbie movie person. And
Totally.
I will see things pop up from the early 2000s and be like, this is wildly offensive.
Oh my gosh. Oof.
Yeah, 100%.
Rough. But anyways, cycle 4, doing better than shows 20 years ago from that perspective.
Indeed. In many ways, though. I mean, give us 20 years and then we'll take a look back and see.
They'll be like, oh my gosh, they're talking about drones? Like, that is so vintage.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, that was like 5 years before the, AI drone takeover and we all became drone slaves.
Wait, that's when they had forests and they were being so ungrateful about seeing them so much? Oh, this is getting dark.
When they made warehouses illegal, it was a
Oh
sad
my
day.
Goodness. I mean, this season overall, we went pretty wide, even though we made maybe not as many episodes as we have in the past. But we were really methodical this season. We traveled a lot. We went to festivals in person.
Because we could.
We held interviews with people, great conversations, thoughtful conversations. I mean, I have to say, like, this season, talking to more people and actually seeing them in person was just so nice. Like, as dance festivals, we try to go to them in person, meet up with our fellow colleagues, and spend time with them, actually see them face to face and experience these films in person in a theater. Like, you do not get that when you're at home on a computer screen. The sound is different. The mood of the environment is different. And the fact that you have someone to talk to right afterwards really helps just enlighten and feel like it was all worth it. It was worth buying that plane ticket, that train ticket, spending hours on the road just to get there.
It felt more rewarding to also reach new listeners for the show. Like when Clara and I were at Dance Camera West at the end of January, we hosted a filmmaker luncheon. And at the beginning, I asked, all right, who's heard of Frameform? And like 2 hands went up. And that could have been a really awkward moment, like, what? But instead I was like, great, that means we've gained all of these new listeners.
Yeah.
Because, it's different than just posting online and trying to reach new people or sharing or getting to the same audience consistently. It felt really good to actually, like you said, get there out in person and interface with real live humans.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of the screenings, like, I'm someone that really values comedy, and just being able to sit in a theater and share a laugh or have the applause at the end of a film, there's nothing like that at home. So definitely agree with your point there.
Absolutely. On that last bit, I actually wanted to give a shout out to Talia Levin, who was one of those very enthusiastic too. And, really, I mean, honestly has been, a part of the show literally from the beginning. I think she was our first interview.
Yeah.
So it was a wonderful.
That's true.
Full circle moment there.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And then Samantha Shay, I mean, we interviewed her for the show, and we featured Gabri Christa's workshop. So basically you could listen along to her workshop through the podcast if you couldn't go to the festival. But yeah, having those in-person connections. And, you know, it feels great to highlight anybody on the show and share about their work, but there's nothing like that gratitude and that mutuality shared person to person, just on a chemical level. It's just different. And sitting in a theater with Mother Melancholia screening, and I remember, Claire, we were sitting in a section with a lot of high schoolers, and just the reactions. They're like, that dancer's so beautiful. That looks so cool. Is she naked?
Yeah.
Like,
people crying.
All the reactions were great.
It was really, really wonderful. And also, I mean, I suppose this is sort of a more personal validation, self-actualization sort of thing, but to hear that other, you know, those who do listen to the podcast do value the work that we do and, you know, put that trust in us to lead events like this under their own umbrella. So Kelly had the idea. I mean, I initially reached out to Kelly to see, oh, hey, you know, maybe we can partner on some interviews. But then she reached out back saying, oh, maybe you can host this meetup that we're doing. So the fact that she, you know, with her 20 years of experience was trusting us to do that under her umbrella was, I mean, I felt incredibly, you know, honored on behalf of the show, as well as Scully again. You know, our, you know, super fan Scully again has been with us from the very beginning, trusting us to lead the Q&As after Movies by Movers as well, for an event that again has, you know, been going on for a long time. So it's really wonderful to, you know, see the real world ripples that this show has had and sort of the, you know, the friends we're making along the way.
Totally.
It's so amazing. I have to say, we're in an age right now that audio archival is so available, and people want to listen. You know, you don't have to go to a library and go through an archive to find this stuff. We're online and we're going to these events, and here you go. If you can't make it, listen to this conversation, listen to this discussion. It's here for you. I mean, that I have to say, like, we are living in an age that we're so lucky to have these resources available for anybody to access and share that. Hey, if you couldn't make it, you get to learn about what we talked about, what you missed. And it's just so cool. It's so cool to think about that, reflecting back, going to those places. And we have this piece of archive to leave behind for those who want to listen.
Yeah, and as someone who's been spending a whole lot of time in archives as of late, and particularly like doing research on old events, just it can be hard to see the dimensionality of those events when all you're relying on are, you know, paper programs and folders, and even online programs just, you know, hidden in tabs. And also it's just reminded me of just how fragile a lot of these archives are, especially honestly the online ones, especially in wake of the HBO Max situation and sort of the, you know, the disappearance of work really at no with no notice. And I mean, it's something I've been thinking a lot about lately as well, as far as, you know, what happens when there is like a sort of changeover, what happens when there is, you know, some kind of mass decision that causes that. A lot gets lost. I mean, it's almost like having like a second backup to a hard drive. Having an audio record of what's happening is further backup of this event, but it also adds such a dimension. It adds a human dimension that, you know, really adds a beautiful color to what it was.
All these conversations we had this season were so valuable. My first conversation I had with Bridget Murnane on Bella was just such a cool way to start. I thought, like, when going into the season, I loved her documentary, learning about who Bella was and what she gave to her community, learning about the whole dance scene out west. That's something that is definitely left out of East Coast dance teaching.
It's not just New York, guys. It's not just New York.
Right.
Seriously, rewrite the history books. Can you please add Bella Lewinsky in? Listening to her personal relationship with her and everything that was involved in it and how much care was put into it. I mean, no one's gonna get these kind of interviews elsewhere. I mean, there's not enough dance filmmaker interviews out there for people to get access to. I mean, we have everybody else, every director, every film director in the world. Maybe some people who work in production for Broadway, but we need to elevate these people who are not as known. You know, we have to give them a platform.
It's a consistent issue with screen dance or dance film is that you take out the film part and dance actually has a ton of representation and history and rich resources and everything. And if you take out the dance part, film and cinema have a ton of representation and shows and video essays and all these things. But to be specific to dance film or screen dance, even though it's not a new art form, it is still lacking in that prolific nature when it comes to behind the scenes and resources and all of that. And the good thing is, I think even compared to when we started the show, there's a lot more out there. And I do credit COVID to some of that because organizations and individuals that maybe were already really established and not interested in using media felt obligated to or invited to. And those that were up and coming, like just starting their careers, I'm sure it's like, you know, the three of us millennials, we grew up with the early stages of the internet, and it has shaped how we think and it's shaped how we planned our career trajectories. All of us work in media and with the internet in various ways. And I just think that as awful as a lot of parts of COVID were, it was a great catalyst for this hybrid field to move forward.
Even though I think I chuckled with David Roussève when I interviewed him in that we were kind of, in some ways, you know, he hauling at the idea that people were thinking like, oh, this is a new form and like completely reinventing the wheel, when those of us who have been in this field, you know, for I guess we're on the younger side, so maybe only one decade as opposed to many decades of others. But the constant in all that was we're always trying to get this taken seriously as a practice, as a form. Like, it's not just, you know, a film that you're making and then you're throwing dance in. Like, you know, just you have to think about the thing holistically. And so even though while there was that initial frustration of, yeah, this has been around, finally these are things that are being taken seriously. And finally there are initiatives established to make it, you know, easier to access. With that being said, I do see a lot, at least particularly in academia where I'm looking for research, there still doesn't seem to be much of a comprehensive education system as far as, you know, introducing like filmic ideas into dance programs or collaborations with film departments rather than the occasional one-off. And I would hope that, you know, these past few years we would have seen more momentum in that area or more, you know, distance covered in that area. I mean, there's still that educational gap. And especially now, like not seeing like quite as many workshops as there were. It's a very, yeah, sorry, I'm rambling.
No, it's a good ramble. It's a true ramble. I still remember being in film studies because the school I went to, they didn't have a dance program. I wasn't planning to do dance post-secondary, so I found my way into film studies, and I was also teaching dance and studying outside of school hours on my dance practice. And I remember sitting in film studies and we were learning about camera movement and editing and how it's just a sense, and then the importance of sound design and, you know, speaking without words and how do you do all of this with movement. And I was like, I feel like I get this as a dancer, as someone with that experience and that sensibility. This is not extremely abstract to me. And I remember my professors like really, and I'm not saying they were wrong to, but they were treating it like sensitively. And then when it came to, we did a whole course on silent cinema that I loved. And then we did like one class on Hollywood and musicals. And it was always a dreaded class in each course. People were like, oh, Singing in the Rain's the best one. That's pretty much all you need to know. And, I don't want to teach this, but here we go. And just realizing like these two are so compatible, and you had, I mean, not to age myself, but to age myself, people were still releasing like videos on Facebook at this time, and YouTube was like a huge boom. So, and like Vimeo was like very artsy and new, and this was probably around when Hannah was doing Screen Dance Collective, and like it was just an interesting time where things have improved, but it was still like, okay, we're over here in film studies and we're trying to think like dancers and choreographers. And then you had dancers that were trying to break into film and into video and not just looking at the basics of how to produce it. So I think things have definitely improved, but it's almost like, okay, how long is it going to take for these like post-secondary educations to really catch up with that in a way? And I also think while we're talking about cross-departmental collaboration, and this was something I mentioned at the symposium like a year ago, I was like, we need to be collaborating with the business school, because a lot of times there's a challenge on how to make this a sustainable art practice or a sustainable business or a lifestyle. And I mean, meanwhile, there are other people in the business school that maybe don't have the artistic or creative ideas, but are like, we just want to have good systems and figure out how to create something reliable and functional. And, they might seem like worlds apart, but we could definitely learn from each other.
The only program that I can really think of that, Jen, really fits that to a T is probably that NYU MFA MBA program. But even then, like, unless you are willing to sell your liver and arms and legs to afford that, it's probably not going to go there. I also want to pull up a quote that I think I've referenced this season from Cara Haydon, who said, "There's no such thing as selling out in screen dance." And, it's always important to advocate for yourself and advocate for your practice. It's also important to hear, the other side and like what elements might alienate others as well. Now, that's not to say that you necessarily have to follow the capital I industry take as far as like the direction your practice goes, but it might also be valuable information as to how you can expand it to include others in. Something that I have noticed, at least over the last year, and sorry, I'm mostly calling references to episodes we've had this season because they're just like so like right at the top of mind. But in terms of ghostly labor, I believe I mentioned that was one of the first times that I've seen like a true screen dance, like a true unequivocal, screen dance mode of documentary creation actually have legs at documentary specific film festivals that originally usually don't program dance.
Right.
And the fact that something like that can, I don't necessarily want to say hold up, because that implies that it's, others don't, but to be seen as, a legitimate contender and a legitimate form of storytelling in the documentary medium is, a positive trend in the right direction. There's also another documentary out that's now also seeing play at major film festivals, which I don't know, have either of you seen Telephone?
No.
I thought you were going to say Transparent, Siobhan Davies. And I was like, it's amazing, right?
I love that. Yeah. Well, Transparent's amazing as well. It was my favorite film of the last San Francisco Dance Film Festival. Siobhan Davies is, all hail. But Telephone is a film. It's a very screen dance film that outlines audio description for dance film and, how to incorporate an artistic bent toward audio description. And again, it's very like non-dictatorial. A lot of it is actually like Zoom, dancers and, even just the intricacies of doing audio description of that. But again, it's another very screen dance documentary that is being accepted at major international, Academy Award qualifying film festivals. And to me, that trends in the positive as far as the capital I of it goes.
I think part of that might be that those two, and I haven't seen Telephone, though I really want to now. The two you mentioned really treat screen dance as a mode of filmmaking rather than the subject of it. And a lot of the documentaries we get at dance film festivals are about dance because, duh, it makes sense. That's your audience. You've got the dance B-roll or, it just makes sense. But Ghostly Labor, I'll speak to the one I've seen. Ghostly Labor, number one, if you haven't heard that interview, please go listen to it because it's excellent. Vanessa and John are fantastic, and just the level of research and depth and authenticity in that project, you feel it when you watch it, but you just get a whole other level of respect for them and reverence for it when you hear it from them. But Ghostly Labor, it's dealing with subject matter that, not that dance isn't real life, dance is real life, but it deals with something that might otherwise have nothing to do with dance, yet it is integrated with dance and expressed through dance and music in such a beautiful way. And the production value is amazing. So I think that's another, kind of going back to what I was saying earlier about dance people trying to break into film. It's like when you have that great of a sound mix, I'm sure that some people are just like, wait a minute, people need to hear this film, even if they're not interested in seeing dance. And once they do see it, it's like, oh, this is amazing. And it deals with serious issues. And the dancing's awesome.
I would love to see more dance synodocs approached in that way because of the versatility that it holds. I applaud both Vanessa and John for creating such a work and almost kind of creating a framework in a way for other people to navigate how to make a true dance synodog. And I haven't seen that balance as often as demonstrated here. We had a film at ADF by Maggie Bailey who did a phenomenal job that we plan to interview for next season and talk about her film and the true balance of what dance and a story about dance. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I just want to see more of that balance going on. I think that's a great exercise to think about when making a dance synodoc. How do we tie the two together where we're learning but also feeling at the same time?
Yeah, that rigor needs to be there and oftentimes is there. And in the way that it's told, like, you absolutely know that no one is BSing you in this because what you feel from emanating from that screen is telling you everything you need to know.
I think a big part of it is true collaboration and actually being able to edit in a rhythmic way, actually, planning your shots so it's not a collage of talking heads. And it takes time. It takes coordination, but it's well worth it when it's done right. And similar sentiment. I hope that we see more of it.
Well, so speaking of things that we wish filmmakers would do more or less of, I think it's pretty consistent that people like revisiting certain locations, and just some locations are just not going to die.
And I'm not going to give away the one that we're planning on talking about next season, but I am very excited for that conversation because it's not a location that is any of our favorites. Whenever I see a film set in this kind of environment, I'm always like ready for the camera to be moving less or for it to have more of a live performance sensibility than like a truly dance cinematic sensibility. But, we've got to accept reality. And if we're going to continue, and similar to the warehouse conversation we had, it makes sense to be in this location for various reasons. So accepting that reality, how can we enhance things the most? How can we make the most of those circumstances? So yeah, every season we come up with more locations that we're going to talk about. And this one that I'm not going to give away yet, but I'm very excited.
I'm curious when we're gonna run out. Like, there's just so many. It's so funny to uncover all the tropes and themes and reoccurring places that people love to dance in. And I'm just like, it's that chain reaction, you know? Like, one starts and then whoosh, there it goes. There's the next popular thing, you know? That style is back in style again. And there might be another resurgence of those kinds of locations. Who knows? Warehouses back in vogue. I don't think they're ever going to go away, though. I don't think warehouses are ever going to go. But, you know, for some of these other ones, we'll see. We'll see.
I think one that we see the least, but also one that our conversation, I was like, I kind of love this grouping the best, is our desert episode. But the desert is not very friendly for production, which is probably why we don't see it as much.
Absolutely. It takes really, really long time to get to. I think the location gets distracting when it's clear that the location is essentially the focus and the dance is presented as dressing for that location. So, for instance, there was a film that was, two films actually that were award winners at San Francisco Dance Film Festival this year, which are spectacular films. And I only noticed until I was creating the acceptance videos for these that both of them were in abandoned warehouses. And that was literally something that I didn't even register until I was doing the video for it.
That's refreshing.
That's refreshing to not even like watch a video and then immediately think like going down that checklist. What are they doing effectively? What's not working? Does this feel like this was a last minute decision to even shoot here, or does it even feel like a warehouse? And the fact that you've been watching these and those things don't register in your head, like that's a great that's a great sign of like a successful piece of work right there. Like when you don't have to think about all the things that your film brain goes through whenever you're watching a movie on a regular basis, that's a hit.
Yeah, I was taking notes, and others hopefully should take notes as well.
One episode I really enjoyed talking about this season was with you, Claire, the color episode, where we really got to dive into mood and tone and what color was emphasizing in the films that we were talking about. Like, I feel like that's a very normal thing to do when we're talking about like mise-en-scène or cinematography in most film classes, but you never really think about it that much in dance. And it was really great just to explore that and dissect that kind of theme this season.
Well, it was also great dissecting that with someone who does color correction essentially for a living. So this was like essentially a free masterclass for me. But yeah, I agree that, when it comes to color, again, that's one of the sort of lost children of dance films in a way. The other is sound in a big, big, big way. But yeah, there are a lot of, color choices which might be good in theory, but don't necessarily work well on all screens, not just your small editing monitor suite. But getting it as someone who, again, there's the capital I industry knowledge, but someone who also is very well versed in, the use of color to create a mood, to create a story. That was something for me, at least, was just a treat.
Oh.
Just learning from the master.
I was so sad to miss that recording, but I did like listen through it because in case you don't know, listeners, all three of us listened to all the episodes and we kind of collectively edit through our note taking, and then like one person will actually do the cutting and fading and layering and actually mixing the episode. But just listening to that episode, I was like, oh, I have such FOMO, but also this is so good. And we didn't plan it this way, but I think that doing color and light in the same season was a really good call because they are so related and so interconnected. And in a way, like color, there was the technical, but also the poetic,
Mm-hmm.
you know, esoteric conversation about what does it mean?
Right.
What's the impact? But in order to get that result and convey that, you have to have some technical knowledge. And same with light. And, you know, I would say light is even more of a basic, fundamental thing that you have to get right. And I was really impressed with how many examples we were able to come up with. Like, especially, I remember for light, we probably had like 20 or 25 films. And then we're like, okay, we got to reel it in. Which ones are we going to actually deep dive on? But yeah, I'm glad that I'm only realizing now, like, we did those 2 conversations this season, and they were a great pairing, a great double bill, if you will.
Absolutely. And both are great metaphors for, you know, training and dance as well, because you do work, at least, I mean, talking from the perspective of someone trained in Western classical forms, like, you know, you do all the work to give yourself the kind of facility for artistic expression and, you know, spend hours on those details to make it be the most accurate and the most full it can possibly be. But then when it becomes entirely about the technical, or when it just becomes a technical show, then it's dead.
Right.
In a way. But it is good to build that base, whatever means you get there, whatever means you get to that base, just so you have those tools that you can use.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love light. Just all the things that it can do, you know, on, off, silhouette.
I think it's a good time to shout out our episode with Lolly as well, because that really took us on techniques that aren't technology driven, but mental techniques, physical breathing techniques, and thought patterns that we can get into in order to liberate our dance practice or connect with our viewing practice and really just be more present. So yeah, that was I kind of, the way I think about it is like our Lolly episode and our Gabri episode in different ways were almost like audio workshops that you could take, which isn't something we hadn't really done on the show before. And at first it was like, how do we do this format? Do we do some like background music, or do we do like a boom doo doom doom doo to like separate the interview? Like, how do we do this?
That was such a technical thing to think about and really like be careful about, because I remember when we were going through that edit, and at the very end I hear our music and I go, I don't think this is appropriate. We're gonna have to, like, you know, be calm, because, you know, when you're at a yoga practice or any kind of meditation, you're at this piece, like, you don't want to hear like some kind of someone coming in with some bongos and drumming as if all of a sudden this became like a West African floor.
I'm like, do
dance.
we need ocean waves at the end? Like, what are we doing here?
Though there is sort of like the minimalist approach where you have the, you know, Einstein on the beach of, you know, you hear the same rhythms for so long, by an hour and a half in, you are in a trance.
Right. Yeah.
That's another type, but we don't have, you know, we don't have those instruments, and we certainly don't have the hours it takes to get you to that point. So Lolly can do that. And I mean, something else I really appreciate, especially particularly about both of those episodes, is that I think sometimes it can be very easy to fall in the realm of, you know, getting very vague about some of these concepts, and particularly when it comes to meditation, like, you know, just the relaxing and just getting into, just find yourself in that state. But
I'm relaxed, damn it. Sorry.
Exactly. Oh God, speaking my language. But something I particularly appreciate about Lolly is, you know, the very straightforward, you know, fundamentals of, you know, how can you practically apply this to the, you know, real world situations, and, you know, not necessarily be just in like a kumbaya type of setting. Like, how can you get to the nitty gritty of acknowledging the real world nature, but still be able to find peace with that?
And that calls more people in as well, because of course you're going to have some that are more inclined to participate or have some experience, but then you've got those tougher cells, those people that are tougher to get on board, that just really won't release within themselves, or that'll be like, this is just some woo-woo crystal kind of stuff, and like, won't be willing to ease into the experience. So I think that she has a really good technical knowledge to, as you said, back up and not be just vague. I think it works. This stuff really works. So yeah, it's not easy.
I think we should have Lolly back again.
Yes.
And
Yes.
do maybe something longer of an exercise and maybe put it on Patreon.
Yes. The lolly loops.
Well, speaking of Patreon, this is the first year that we launched it. I like how we did it over the summer because it wasn't like we were doing the show and Patreon. Like, we got to kind of have a summer a little bit and focus on breaking our season into kind of mini seasons. So, we were like the Sopranos. So I really like I like that we did that. And I think that the number of releases we had, 6, was really good to start. We each did 2. One of my Patreon deliverables was the episode guide, and it was almost emotional going through it because I was just so proud of everything we've done. Like, this is obviously this episode, this conversation is our season 4 wrap up, but doing that episode guide was like an entire series wrap up in a way. And we've had a lot of people on the show. We've covered a lot of different films, so many topics, a lot of locations, and it was just really an awesome exercise in reflection and being like, sometimes we are so busy moving forward that it's hard to even be present, and it's certainly hard to process all that we've accomplished. The years sort of blur together. So
I mean, it's just been such a whirlwind, especially I'd say the last 2 years in particular, but yeah, it felt like the majority of lockdown happened and then the gates opened and it was back to full sprint. So,
Right.
I mean, just unless you really point me to a specific day and a specific moment in time, the last few years are just a total blur. So having that guide was a great way to actually in a way, center myself and say, okay, here's what we have. Here's what we've done. We've done
So much.
amount over the last few years. And there's, still so much potential going forward as well. And just having all of that at a glance too, it always helps okay, here are the blanks that we have filled in, but what are some blanks that are still remaining?
And something or someone that has made the past 2 years a lot lighter as we've been sprinting is Maddy Leitner. She's been our intern, our collaborator on our designs and helping with social and, just being able to have someone else on the team that we can tag in. And I told her this, but if you need a reference letter, Maddy,
Yes.
all 3 of us will write 3 different amazing perspectives on just how it is to work with you. And if you're listening to this and you're in the screen dance or dance film realm and you want someone that can edit, with Photoshop, with video, copy editing, who's organized, and just such a pleasure to deal with, Maddy Leitner is your person.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can see some of her portfolio on the many, many, many dance film festivals she is currently working with right now.
Yeah.
That's such an amazing thing to see as well, because I feel like I still remember the first email I got from her. She's like, hey, do you want me to do anything with Dancinema? I'm in school. And since then she's graduated. And I was like, I think that we could use your help on Frameform more than Dancinema, actually. And it's been really cool to see her working with so many different festivals and just showing that I can only imagine the professional education she's getting too, and the behind the scenes look. And I'm personally proud that she's working with a lot of West Coast festivals because I think that's
Yes.
really cool. And I'm on the East Coast now, but I am a West Coaster at heart. So yeah, I think she's great, and I'm so happy that she's doing a lot of different work and really carving out a unique career path. And it really speaks to her initiative and her creativity.
Yeah, she actually, did come out for this last San Francisco Dance Film Festival, so it was wonderful actually meeting her in person as well.
Right.
And just getting confirmation oh, there are not 5 of you, it's just 1 of you.
Hello, person from the internet. Yeah.
Thanks, Maddy.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Maddy.
We appreciate you.
Well, as we bring our wrap up to an end, we still have more seasons to come. So, I mean, I'm excited for what we got going in the bank for season 5. And it's now on y'all, the audience, to just, engage, subscribe to our Patreon, and pay attention.
Send us that validation.
Yeah,
validation.
and
Double
just
tap.
pay attention to social media and all the podcast feeds, because stuff will be coming up soon. It'll be like in a blink of an eye.
And check your local listings. We might be coming to your area.
Coming to a city near you.
Coming to a country, potentially.
Ooh, just you wait. Just you wait. Well, guys, it's always a great time talking, chatting, and just, nerding out with you.
Absolutely. And I just value both. I mean, obviously, I value your expertise and your just, again, the initiative that both of you have taken during the show. And I also just so value the friendship as well. And this, on a personal level, this was a very difficult year for me. And I don't want to get too into like YouTube sob story, but the fact of the matter is both of you have really, done incredible work to pick me up as the years gone by. And I just so appreciate both of you for that.
The feeling's mutual, Claire, really.
Same.
One thing I missed about this season is we didn't sit down together
Yeah.
as much. And it feels really good to do it right now. And, I'll soon be brunching with you on the West Coast. And Hannah and I will soon go for another meal. And it'll be great to do this in person. But there's something about the three of us gathered around the cauldron together that just feels right. And I've loved growing and learning and talking with you two over the years. And excited to do it again soon.
Hell yeah.
Well, let's do it. Let's do it.
The new episode releases have now wrapped for the season, but your Frameform experience doesn't have to. If you haven't already, become a Patreon subscriber for just a few dollars. You'll get access to tutorials from Hannah, zines from Claire, and PDF resources from me, including a visual guide to seasons 1 to 4. Plus, a new offering, Dancinema's 10-year anthology. This is a PDF guide to all the dance films we have screened to date, plus collaborations and projects such as those with Standard Vision, and of course, Frameform Podcast. Get yours by becoming a Dancinema site member or a Frameform Patreon subscriber. And thanks again for listening.
This is Frameform, hosted by Hannah Weber, Jen Ray, and Claire Schweitzer. Episode edited by the Frameform team, with social media support from Maddy Leitner and music by Mason Carlton. Thanks for listening.